While Schneider is running away with things in the prototypes, Phil Lake has been eating away at Leskala's lead in the last 2 rounds. In fact, the Brit is now tied on wins with his Finnish rival. The next couple weeks could be decisive as to whether he's got a shot at this. We'll see if he continues to catch him here in Germany as we get ready to watch round 8 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Nürburgring's GP course is a modern marvel at an old-school track. Specifically built to give major series a safer place to race at the ring, it's been in heavy use since its birth in the 80s. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing. Well, Adam, I think the one thing that the drivers are thankful for is that it's not the ring itself on the Nordschleife for today.
Absolutely, we've done that plenty of times, but the Grand Prix layout of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit is a fascinating 2.25 mile or 3.62 kilometer 9-turn circuit featuring a decent amount of elevation change and many fast-flowing corners. This obviously means that the Audis will struggle here with the many long sweeping corners burning up their front tires over the course of the while the Nissans are a bit more comfortable but run the risk of unsettling the car over the many narrow curbs and grassy runoffs here. The best places to pass for both classes are into the Hagenhaken and the chicane, though Advan Bogen can make the chicane pass challenging to set up. The multi-class here historically hasn't been too much of an issue, but the Nissans will be desperate to get by the Audis as quick as possible to keep their lap time up, as the difference between the faster Nissan and the fastest Audi is 15 seconds here at the Grand Prix Strecke. We've seen some amazing racing here from both classes in the past, and here's hoping we have another barn burner here today, Joe.
No doubt about that. Now, if we take a look at the points on the season, it is a bit interesting because this is before the drop weeks are taken into account. Now, Laust Olsen will not lose too many points because his only drop point is a single point, actually. So he's at 57 behind as it stands. But that's before taking into account that Nick Schneider is going to drop a couple himself. But regardless, before you take the drop points into account, it has been Nick Schneider's season, very much so, with all the wins that he's racked up. Fabian Jungbluth and Joseph Mudrack round out our top 5. We'll see if any of that changes picture here today. Adam?
Yeah, and in the GTO's drop points are starting to be in the minds of the drivers as well. And you see that 22-point gap from Phil Lake to Jukka Leskala. Phil closing that in by 3 points last round. Now that gap closes down to only 2 points once you take the drop weeks into effect. So Phil Lake, those small little chips that he puts in Jukka Leskala's lead are definitely adding up over the course of the season and could bring him into title contention by the end of the season. Nick Makanos, 37 points back of Jukka Leskala at this time, has quite a few races he'd like to drop, unfortunately, so he's not going to be quite as close once we add the drop weeks in. Jamie Hamill-Smith, similar to Nick Makanos, so they'll still be close with Ove Traingrade rounding out your top 5 at the GTO standings.
And for today's race, it's the sprint format again, 40 minutes around here. And they have an open setup in this series, which means drivers can tweak the cars to however they please and what is most comfortable, hopefully the fastest for them as well. Now, there are no fast repairs, but this is a modern Grand Prix course, so there's a lot of paved runoff, though there are some spots where you can certainly run afoul of hitting the walls. If anything, the bigger concern is probably hitting other cars. Watch out for those off tracks with the paved runoff that they have here, because you can get a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, and a 25 incident mark will get you a complete disqualification. Right now, we are waiting for the first laps to go down here in our qualifying session. It does take a bit to get around, so we might have to wait a little longer before we finally see the first ones on the board.
Absolutely. Right now, we're looking at Matthias Hovdahl, who, wow, gets very loose on the curbing on the exit there of the Ford curve, coming down to the Dunlop curve here, going through this long, sweeping 180-degree turn. It's got a nice amount of bank to it, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but you gotta be careful not to clip the inside of that curb. Then we dive through the Schumacher S, one of the most unique S's in racing, in my opinion, this uphill S-turf, then through Michelin, then through Bachsteiner, and man, these GTPs really tackle this course very quickly, almost as fast as some of the F1 cars.
Yeah, they got quite a bit of grunts underneath them with that turbo power and the downforce of the under tray as they come through the final chicane. This is like the F1 cars actually run here, with that tight last chicane and then up into Coca-Cola. Hovdahl going to be our first one to set a time, as long as he kept it within the boundaries of the track. As he crosses, it is going to be a 40.7. Now we wait for the others to see if they can match that.
Ooh, wow. Hovdahl with a great time. He's currently 2/10 up over Schneider, Jungbluth, and Silvazzi. So a great time for Hovdahl there. And he still has a couple tenths he could make up. Remember, when we just switched to him, we saw him get loose on that curbing. So he's definitely got some room for improvement there.
I see Lake coming to the line here in a moment. So he and Yuko Leskala will be a point of interest in this event. A 55.2 for Phil, and Yuko now comes up through the final chicane himself and into Coca-Cola. Let's see what the #1 rated driver in this entire field can do here at this historic track. The Finn takes it to the line, and it's a 55.494. That is actually 2/10 slower than Lake. Interesting.
Now remember, these Audis take a lap or two to warm up the tires. Yuko Leskala actually locking up his brakes into the hogcock, and so he's definitely got a little bit of room to make up, but the Audis don't really lose that much time when they lock up their brakes that much. Alcalde with a 56.8. Unfortunately, that's going to put him towards the back of this field at the moment. But Nick Bacano's currently 8/10 off of pole. And then we have a new driver, Andre Schumacher, who's jumped in, currently only 4/10 off of the pole time in third position.
I believe he's coming over from the Lotus 49s, if I'm remembering correctly. So as we see, Sintez Guindos at a time of a 42.4, good enough for 7th. Guillotero only 10th on that time through. Ove Trangrade looks like he set a 56.0, and that'll put him on the second row in the GTOs as Nick Schneider crosses and is not able to improve. Hovdahl goes quicker by just a couple hundredths, and so looks like Nicholas will not be able to take the pole position today, but Beme behind him is a newcomer as well in that #5, so I wonder if he could maybe have a shot at this. I know nothing about him.
That's going to be interesting to see how he does. Pablo Suarez coming off the final turn, seeing whether he can improve off of a 142.2. A 141.8 is an improvement, but Suarez not necessarily where he wants to be. Jonathan Ricard coming off the final corner, as well as Phil Lake, our current leader in the GTOs. Ricard setting a 50.194, a slight improvement. Phil Lake, a 54.944. That is a big improvement, about half a second over his previous time. Yuko Leskala, we'll see what he can do as he comes off the final turn.
Yuko has got a lot to make up, but like you said, those tires need to really work their way up to temperature. It is going to be a 54.6. He tops him by about 0.3 of a second. He's got the pole.
And that's what I was thinking, that he was saving his stuff for that last lap. Phil went hard on both laps, which might have taken a little bit out of his tires coming into that final lap. Miguel Alcalde trying to improve his time over that 56.8 we saw earlier. 56.390 will improve his time and bump him into 6th.
I think looks like Sintez Guindo went a little faster, up to 5th that time by. Gabbiani is next in the 22 machine. He's 8th in his class. A 43.1 becomes a 42.8. So a couple of tenths improvement, but he does not go any higher in positions.
So Mudrack, one of our last people to set a qualifying time around here, gonna come off the final corner, trying to improve on a 43.8. Gonna cross the line and not improve, unfortunately, a 44.6. So definitely something going wrong there. Hideki Koivisto doing a good job currently in 8th position, trying to jump a couple of spots up. A 56.340 is going to hold true, and it does put him up to 6th position.
Yeah, nice improvement, but he's our last one able to set a time. Rickard's already had his 2 laps, so he is done here today, and he's going to practice a pit entry just in case, although we don't expect any scheduled pit stops. This is a sprint race, so start to finish, you should be out there on the track rolling if you want a good result in the end. As the last few seconds tick down here in that qualifying session, we'll be able to get to that grid in a moment. It is round 8 here in the iRacing Kamel GT series. So into the final third of the season. And now it is on for whoever wants to try and make a charge for the championship. Matthias Hovdal is going to try and do what he can to make his way forward, but hasn't shown up a lot. Could he steal a win off of Nick Schneider here, who will start next to him? Till Beme certainly looks quick, but is still a little bit off of those 2 in front of him. He'll start from P3 as Togo Hisada will be 4th. Sintez Guindo, great qualifying for him, starting from P5. Fabian Jungbluth will be 6th, and Suarez 7th, and Gabbiani will be to his outside in the 8th spot. So Vazzi starts 9th, and the last one on this slide will be Mudrack in 10th. Guiotero starts from P11. You've got Nick Rage in the 12th position, followed by Gamek in 13th and Cope in 14th. Ricard and Nielsen will start from the back of the GTP field.
Yuko Leskala tops the pole by about 3/10 over Phil Lake, who starts off in 2nd. Andre Schumacher's going to start off 3rd position today, with Ove Trangrade in 4th. Good lap from Andre coming over from the 49s. Nick Picanos all the way back at 5th today, not the greatest qualifying for him. Hideki Koivisto in 6th. Miguel Alcalde is going to come start off in 7th position, with Jamie Hamill-Smith in 8th. Matthias Platz is going to start off in 9th position, with Mika Tupola in the 10th spot. Marty Ole all the way back at 11th, not a great qualifying for him either, with Fabio Saul and Nejin Cameron rounding out your qualifiers, with Carlos Fonseca not setting a qualifying time, rounding out your 14-car Audi field and your 30-car field for the race.
So Hovdal's only shown up at the last 2 races and then this one, so 3 in a row, but he's come in way too late to really be a contender. Even still, he finished 2nd at Silverstone, and he usually is a quick runner. So he could potentially try and challenge Nick Schneider and keep him from having 6 wins after today's race. The real thing that I'm going to watch is between Leskala and Lake, as it seems Lake has had better pace than Yuko in the previous 2 rounds. He beat him on merit, didn't really get lucky or anything, just straight up went out and outraced him. As we hop on board with Trangarade behind them, who's also taken a victory in this season in the Kamel GT series. As we now take off behind the Porsche pace car, getting ready to go for 40 minutes today, Adam.
Absolutely. 40 minutes is going to feel like a very short amount of time around this particular track. As I'm keeping my eyes on the Yuko Leskala Phil Lake battle again, it will be interesting to see whether or not Yuko can put pressure, Phil can put pressure on Yuko, because that seems to burn up Yuko's tires early on. So we'll see whether or not he can do that coming off of turn 1.
So the Porsche pace car is already coming into pit lane. With that entry being before the final corner, this gives control to Hovdal. And everybody's trying to get right up close as they got held up through the chicane. This is backing some of them up. Now they seem to be in a good line, and green flag is out as Hovdal gets a great jump. Schneider was briefly under threat from Beme, and it looks like he's going to fall back as Nick tries to play defensive down into the Hal Cook. Very sharp corner here, and it dips down at the apex. So far, so good. We are clean in the GTPs.
It's side by side for the lead between Phil Lake and Yuko Leskala coming into the Hal Cook It's going to be really close between these guys. Phil Lake is going to have to dive late on the brakes and go around the outside of the corner, which often doesn't work in the Audis, but he's still holding very strong as we enter the Mercedes arena. Still side by side between 1 and 2. Yuka sends it deep into Mercedes. Phil Lake trying to hold strong on that inside. Can't quite do it. Is he going to send it late on the brakes? No, Yuko gets the spot.
Oh, but he goes a little wide here. Leskala just sends it in a little too deep, and this will bring him side by side once again. Great exit from Phil Lake. He'll have the inside into Valvoline, but what about Ford? That's where it switches back. He falls back before they get to the apex, and it looks like that battle finally goes to Yuko.
Absolutely. The Audis have to take an early break if they're on the inside of Valvoline, but look at this. Phil with a great run. He might send it here into Dunlop if he's thinking about being a little risky. He decides not to do it and breaks before then. Yuka Leskala still in the lead of the Audis.
Yeah, they certainly seem to have broken bread here today as they quickly find each other on the track, and Schumacher behind them giving watch, showing that expertise in these vintage cars is coming into play here in the GTOs. Trangrade just went off behind them. Looks like he was able to catch it, but all four wheels actually in the grass coming out of the Schumacher S.
And this pressure is exactly what I was talking about, Joe, with Phil trying to put pressure on Yuka Leskala. Didn't get a great exit that time out of the Warsteiner curve, but now through Ad van Bogen up to the chicane, he's going to have to close a little bit more to keep Yuko under pressure.
Watching from on board Leskala, he probably felt it was important to get that track position today, knowing how quick Phil has been. We're not missing anything, by the way, in the GTP class. Hovdal is a full 2 seconds ahead of Schneider already, so that one isn't very exciting up at the front of them like it is here down the front stretch. I don't think Lake's close enough to attack into the Halcook.
I mean, people have tried it from this far back, but I don't think Phil Lake's going to be one of those people. No, he decides to brake a little bit earlier, so he's going to settle into this position of just putting pressure on Yuka Leskala for the opening stage of this race. That's the strategy that's worked for him up to this point, is make Yuko burn out those tires early, and you can see Yuko's already sliding through the corners. So it's already working out for Phil Lake. A little bit of brake lockup from Yuka Leskala on the front left, entering through that turn now as they exit the Mercedes arena and head towards Valvoline.
It's only about 93 Fahrenheit on the track surface right now, though. So do you feel like that strategy might be a little harder with these ideal conditions?
Well, I mean, the Audis just kind of burn up their tires regardless of what's going on. I mean, it is very cool out there for sure. So Yuko's going to have more grip, but Yuko's already breaking loose and also locking up the tires, even with the extra grip that he has. And with these grippier conditions like we have right now, that can actually wear the tires faster.
34 centigrade for our metric friends on the track temperature right now. Just behind them, it's also a very good battle between Trangrade and Schumacher. And you can see.
Oh, Hoffman's had a problem.
Oh, and he had such a huge lead. This was, I think, maybe a cut course penalty.
Yes, cut course at the chicane.
And as he continues to battle, that's Till to his side, defends the inside down into the Halcook. Now the Mercedes arena looks like it's going to keep him safe. Top three very close together. Let's take a look at the replay on Hovdal and see if we can figure out where exactly this cut course happened.
Yeah, this absolutely happens at the chicane. It's right before what we just saw there. You see how slow he has to go through the corner. Unbelievably slow. So here we go, Matthias Hovdal. He's going to take the first chicane just fine, but he's carrying too much speed and gets the center of the car over that curb there. And that's enough to cause the cut course penalty. He slows it down and tries to pay the piper into the final corner, but it's just so much time to give up. He had about 3 seconds and he lost it all to Nicholas Schneider, but he's now gaining it back right on the back of Schneider as they go through the Schumacher S.
Hovdal might have the speed, but can he pass is the question. There's opportunities to do it here, but they're not always that great. Schneider now has the desired track position. 5 minutes into this race, Till doesn't seem to be able to hang. He's dropped back to about half a second currently.
The good news is that Hovdal has plenty of front wing in order to make the turn-ins behind Schneider's turbulent air. The bad news is that Hovdal has all that front wing, which makes him slower on the straight lines compared to Schneider, who's got a very trimmed out race car. Let's see whether or not that extra front wing ends up hurting him here on the straightaway. Schneider, not with the greatest of exits, but look at him pull away. Now we start to get the draft effect once the hit get over 120 miles an hour, but it's not enough. There's nothing he can do.
Maddie's gonna look, and it just isn't there. That onboard, though, really gave a good impression of just how much time he's gaining in the twistier bits as he caught up a ton in that final chicane. Now, through the Mercedes arena, he's behind by only 0.3 of a second. Look, it's less than a car length back from our race leader, and as close as he's hanging, just doesn't seem to be doing the trick.
Now, one thing that's going to happen to Schneider is with that trimmed out car, he's putting a lot more wear on the tires. Now, as you said, the track temperature is very low here today, so that'll give a benefit to Schneider, but if Hobdall's going to make a move, he's going to have to do it late on the brakes and in one of these twistier sections when he's right up behind Schneider. You can see him trying to take these wider lines to get better exits off of the corner. That one didn't particularly work at a Dunlop, ended up being more of a late braking maneuver. But to be honest, Joe, the top 8 are all tucked in within about 2 seconds here on this track for the GTPs. I don't think these battles are going to be over, and especially once they catch up to the GTOs, which they'll do in about 3 laps time, these battles may open up again.
And the biggest gap right now among the top 8 is just merely a second between Hisada and Sintez Guindo in 4th and 5th place. This is one of the closer ones here on screen with the red, blue, and white of Hovdal. Schneider in the sky blue and white coming out of that chicane once again. That one not nearly as good for Matty, and they'll come on the front stretch. I'm doubtful with him in a good position. No, maybe. It's looking decent.
I mean, it's a good position, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the acceleration off the corner that Schneider does. I think just a difference in gearing between those two cars. But then Schneider's just so trimmed out, he can just stick with it right behind these guys.
I mentioned earlier about the battle for 3rd in the GTOs. Well, that has not gone away at all. Schumacher still leads Trangarade, coming up to the Schumacher S appropriately. And they're also being chased by Mucanos, Coivisto, and Alcalde. It's basically a 5-car battle here.
And you want to know how fast Yuko and Phil are? They've left Schumacher in the dust by 6 seconds. This battle's happening 6 seconds behind our 2 leaders.
We're only on lap 4 for these drivers. I have to wonder, though, when are they going to get interrupted by our leaders in the GTPs? Looks like they still got almost half a lap. And that might be for the best for Hovdal because he's getting ever closer. If he can make that pass before the traffic gets to them, that would probably be ideal.
His only real opportunity, though, is into the chicane or into the Dunlop curve. I would expect a late move into Dunlop might actually be the way to go for Hovdal because of the extra downforce that he has. Schneider, though, can just pull away from him on all of these straights. So as they go through Warsteiner, they're going through the Bogen now and into the chicane. You can see that Schneider's just able to pull away by that extra 10th that he needs to stay clear of Hovdal. Hovdal coming onto the straightaway, he knows that that's not his best opportunity unless he makes a late braking move. Wow, very loose as he came through the chicane that time around, going through Coca-Cola, still dealing with the hot tires from that loose moment there. He's not going to have the best run off the corner, and Schneider's going to be able to pull away.
Once again, but they are running an impressive pace. Till was only back by about a second earlier. Now it's a full 2.5 seconds that he has dropped off of them. Getting really hard on those curbs. I wouldn't think you'd want to do that in this Nissan just because in the past it hasn't agreed with them.
Well, the benefits of a simulator versus the real life is that you actually don't have wear necessarily on the chassis. So it's just a threshold that you have to make sure you don't hit when it comes to damaging the undercarriage of the car. And these guys know exactly where that line is, and they're going to go straight up to it. They're very feisty competitors.
What about though things such as the nose? Are these curbs tall enough that they could damage that just by striking them?
These particular curbs aren't, but it looks like Gianluca Gabbiani has gone off. This is coming through Ford curb.
Yeah, I think this is a single car incident. The 22 is going to brake a little too deep, and thankfully, oh no, he didn't avoid the barrier. Looks like he just glanced it. I think he'll get away with that without much damage, if any. He'll return in 10th position.
All right, our leaders in the GTPs are about to approach our first lapped Audi, and with a 15-second time delta between the fastest GTP and the fastest Audi, we're looking at more like 22, 23 seconds between Cameron and Schneider. So this is where this can start affecting this battle. is when they come up to these Audis, especially the ones towards the back. Oh, Phil Lake and Yuka Leskola side by side.
I saw the same thing, and Leskola is having to play defense now. Phil on the charge. Did he finally wear out those tires of the red machine? It is red versus blue here today. And on the inside end of Valvoline, you mentioned he's got to brake a little earlier, but Leskola's got a nose ahead. He's going to hang around the outside. Phil Lake is going to try and make him work for it, stick with it down into Ford. And as they accelerate down the hill, it is nothing doing. And Leskola rebuffs him.
3 weeks in a row, these two guys have been battling side by side for the lead of these races. Such a good thing to see. Oh, Phil Lake getting a little bit loose on the brakes into Dunlop, able to hang on to it. He's definitely putting that pressure on Yuko right there. Oh, and our leaders of the GTPs are definitely getting held up by Audi traffic now, Joe. Nicholas Schneider and Matthias Hobdahl held up by Carlos Fonseca and Mika Tupola, who are battling for 12.
Yeah, and then up next, they're quickly going to approach Saul, who is next in line in that number 13. Probably going to see him.
No!
Of course, a mistake from Schneider. Schneider goes off the course, losing multiple positions. He mercifully stays out of the tires, but he is all the way down to 7th now.
He just clips the left, he just clips the dirt with his left front. Unbelievably manages to salvage this car. No damage to Schneider, just hot tires. Now we'll really see his pace to see whether or not he can gain those positions back.
And as that happened, a checkup with traffic and some contact even between Till and Tupola has cost him some spots. He got passed by, it looks like, Hisada and Sintez Guindo, but Hobdahl has a huge gap now.
Oh, more contact between Guindo and Beme, and then Tago Hisada took it very deep through the chicane, and now he's side by side with Guindo as they exit the corner. Let's see whether or not Beme and Jungbluth can do anything about this.
Wheel to wheel as they accelerate towards the Haug Hook. A good slipstream for Till, but he backs out of it. Oh, now he takes another look down to the inside as Sintez Guindo opens the door, managing to pull ahead of Hisada. Hisada's not giving up easily on this. That yellow machine fighting tooth and nail to hold on to the podium position, but Till is also desperate to get those spots back, knowing he was briefly able to spray the champagne here today. Still wheel to wheel, and a great exit from Togo.
And this is exactly what I was talking about with the GTOs causing battles in the GTPs. Look at this. Sintez Guido getting held up by Marty Olay as they dive themselves into Ford. And now all these battles right next to each other. Till Beme, Togo Hisada, Jungbluth, and Suarez all tucked under a blanket right now. Guido just getting clear of Jamie Hamill-Smith, who has to go to the apex and gets cut off by the GTPs.
Wow. I think they're going to be able to get through, but just barely. It's going to be close at the back for the Schumacher S. Oh, and squeaking by, Pablo Suarez is able to pass. But all of that craziness has meant that Nick Schneider has gained a huge chunk of time on them.
Absolutely, but also Hobdahl has gained a huge chunk of time on these two guys. Hobdahl up to 7 seconds up ahead has just actually gone by our leaders in the GTOs. So as this battle approaches our leaders, the GTOs, that's going to be Phil Lake's next opportunity to try and make a pass.
In fact, we got to check on that battle because Lake is right behind him, and he's going to get a huge slipstream down the pit straight. No defense from Yuko. He thinks that the outside is the way to go. That or he's tired of fighting as they both break into the first hairpin. Inside goes to Phil Lake. Outside with a better exit. Yuko Leskola seems to have maybe picked right. No, suddenly the outside is better once again. Down into the Mercedes arena, nearly banging doors between them. It's almost a carbon copy from last time.
Absolutely, Phil Lake doing a good job hanging strong on the outside. It switches to the inside as they exit the arena. He's got a better run this time, but loses the tires. So does Yuko Leskola, who's going to be later on the brakes as they go into Valvoline. Here we go. Both of them braking at the same time. Advantage to Yuko. Phil a little bit loose on the outside. Here they go into Ford. Yuko Leskola later on the brakes this time around, able to hang on to it. Hobdahl's catching up to the back of them. Phil's going to drop in behind Yuko to let Hobdahl go through. Is Hobdahl going to hold up Yuko Leskola's braking point? The answer is no. Into Dunlop. Yuko Leskola still retains the lead.
So 2 times in a row, Phil Lake found that positioning of his car did not work. If you're in Phil's shoes, Adam, what do you do from here?
I keep the pressure on because Yuko Leskola is going to lose grip on those tires. That being said, I want to try and keep my tires as cool as possible, but I'm looking behind me. 5 seconds behind me is Heitor Sintes Guindo, and a four-way battle for that second position of the GTPs. I try and set up a pick using those guys, and they will catch me as they go through the Advan Bogen and possibly into the chicane. I just have to make sure that they don't pass me at that point, and that way I can try and set up a nice move. So here we come into the chicane, and the guys are still behind me, the GTPs. Now it's time to see whether or not I can make a move here as we get on through Coca-Cola and onto the front straightaway as they catch me down the front stretch.
And this has been a frantic fight behind them, so this is a huge danger to these two. They don't want to get involved and see someone else's risky move collect them in a heap of carnage as we once again come down to that first corner. And for the second time, Lake thinks about the inside, but this time he backs out. Is he trying to square it off? Maybe he can't quite. To the outside, there is his rival. He's still going to go side by side, just as Sintes Guindo and Till approach on the back of them. They can go 3 wide if they want, but it's going to be risky.
I don't like this for anybody in these battles. Look at this. It's going to be 3 wide. Here we go. Heitor Sintes Guindo is going to make the move. Phil Lake's going to drop in behind. He does not want to take that risk. He cannot afford another DNF here. And look at this Toga Hisada going around the outside. This takes every opportunity away from Phil Lake. I think he made the move too early, Joe.
Yeah, I think so too. And behind them, Jungbluth now is able to get through, and Nick Schneider, who's advanced up to 6th place. He got by Suarez last lap. And oh, Nick, unfortunately going to have to split the pair of them. He places the car perfectly through the Dunlop hairpin. Now he's going to be able to leave them be as he accelerates on.
Oh, but it looks like Till Bemy's going to try and make a move on Heitor Sintes Guindo for second. He moves to the inside as they head up towards Michelin. This is a hard place to make a pass with the GTPs, but he's able to get it done. Till Bemy up to second.
As I said, he's a new driver, but I'm impressed so far. Fighting for podiums, a 2nd place here potentially. Behind him, Hisada's got a good run because of that compromise line for Sintes Guindo. He shows his nose into the chicane and then thinks better of it.
Sintes Guindo very deep into the chicane, gets a little bit on the outside curving, but Hisada can't take advantage of it. Got it too bogged down. The turbo wouldn't activate, unfortunately, for him coming up off of the gas there. So as we go back onto the straightaway, it's Beme, Guindo, and Hisada in that order, and they probably won't change by the time we hit the braking zone.
And
but it's side by side between Phil Lake and Yuko.
Yes, Yuko is barely ahead as Phil Lake was trying to use that traffic, actually managed to get side by side through Coca-Cola. Once again, down to the inside, using the slipstream from Zilvazi in front of them, and then brakes early, slotting in back behind that red car.
I think that was a good decision because they got Joseph Mudrak behind, and Joseph has a little bit of issue getting past the Audis over the course of this season. He's going to look to the inside of Phil here. He's going to think better of it. Phil's line getting a little bit compromised there, realizes that Mudrak wasn't going to take that. So Mudrak should get past them before they go through Valvoline. So here we go. Mudrak's going to make one move. And is he going to go to the inside of Yuko? He's not. He's actually going to separate this battle a little bit. Going to try and go around the outside of Yuko, which compromises his exit and his entry into Ford. So that gets Phil right back up to him.
And the battle continues. Now, what's incredible, let's keep the cameras here, is that with all the stuff that was going on with the battle for second in the GTPs and the traffic they experienced, it went from 5 seconds up to 13 seconds between P1 and P2 there. So Hovdal is sitting pretty.
Absolutely, Hovdal doing exactly what he needs to do. Nicholas Schneider has been unable to get by Fabian Jungbluth as well for that 5th position as he's trying to make this work. We watch Gianluca Gabbiani actually take away Yuko Leskala's line as they went into Michelin. Here we go through Warsteiner, and Yuko actually with a better line that time around because he took it wide into Warsteiner to get a better exit, realized that Phil wasn't in position to try and take advantage. Look at this, Hovdal with the fastest lap.
Another quick mention, Schneider got 5th now as Jungbluth went off out of the Bill Stein corner. Still no attempt from Phil Lake down into the last chicane. So let's see as they round the final hairpin if he gets a better exit or if he still continues to show himself in the mirrors or goes side by side with Leskala. He's a little farther back than the past few times on this pit straight, so I'm not expecting anything.
He'll stay in line and he'll try and play the game of making Yuko defend in other positions. Yuko locking up that right front tire once again, entering the Hog. And you know,
we had a mistake from Hideki Koivisto. I think he got shoved around, unfortunately, from Martiali.
Yeah, and this actually has happened 2 times to him today. The first time off the nose of Miguel Alcalde, and this time off the nose of Martiali, both in the same corner for Coivisto. He's got to be hating that corner.
Yeah, I think he had to slow down because of the battling GTPs in front of him, and driver behind did not get the memo today. So he's down in 10th place. Up to that battle for P2. Till still has about half a second over Sintez Guindos. Whoa, is behind them. Hesada, 2 wheels into the dirt, manages to keep it from going around. If he would have spun it, that would have been the 2nd lap in a row that Schneider would have inherited a spot from a mistake at that corner.
Absolutely, and these guys now 15 seconds behind Hogdahl, so Schneider in a good position to get himself up to 2nd, but he's going to have a lot of work to do. Less than half of the race to go now, 19 minutes to go for these guys as they cross the line, and Nicholas Schneider has a lot of work to do if he wants to catch Hogdahl, who's setting the fastest laps of the race.
I wonder if Schneider can maybe get past some of these guys as we watch from on board him outbraking Hesada into the Haug hook. Is this a job done? Yes, he swings out wide, preventing Hesada from cutting back, and that'll put him into 4th now.
He's taking no prisoners trying to get his way through there. He knows that his car is fast enough to be up there in that 2nd position. He's going to try and get there as quick as possible.
It's not looking likely he can run down Hovdal this late in the race, but you never know. If he gets himself in that P2, he could possibly have something on the cards as a side-by-side poke. No, Lake thought about it on Leskala into the first corner, but once again, backed away. Is he trying to widen the entry into the first part of the Mercedes arena? He thought about it once again.
I love watching these guys battle. Phil's trying everything he can. Look at that, another left front lockup from Yuko. He's trying everything he can to pressure Yuko into making a mistake, and Yuko holding strong. Yuko's very used to this. He's been doing this for about 4 seasons now, just holding off these battles from behind him. There used to be a couple more drivers who were able to put the fight to him, but he has so much experience having drivers breathing down his neck and still leading this race. So Yuko Leskala doing a great job. Phil Lake also having that pressure. Here's Mark Gamick trying to recover from a bad start himself. He's going to take away Yuko's line through Ford, but that hasn't worked last couple times for Phil, and it doesn't work again this time around.
Yeah, you say that Yuko is used to this, but the gaps that he's had in some recent seasons with his wins tells me that he might be a little rusty here dealing with the pressure. Yep, that is a split of Guillotero going in between, and you can see the better exit for Phil Lake as he actually managed to get side by side the Nissan from the corner.
The benefits of the 4-wheel drive is so much more grip coming off the corner. It looks like Jungbluth has had a problem. Side by side with Hesada.
I think that's Hesada with the problem, actually. He's under attack. Jungbluth was behind him. Remember, he got passed by Schneider not too long ago, so Togo struggling late in this race despite a good qualifying. Started in 4th, was running in 3rd and 2nd earlier on. Now he might fall outside of the top 5 unless he's careful.
Absolutely, but we should go to the lead of the GTOs again because Phil Lake's trying another move once again into the Hoghaken. And it is side by side this time. He's got the overlap on Yuko, locks up the right front tire. He's got a decent exit as well, trying to swing it wide as they go to the Mercedes arena. He's in his best position yet. Can Yuko hang on the inside? The answer is yes, still an overlap as they exit the arena one more time. It's still side by side, switches to the right-hander. Yuko's gonna try and carry speed out of it as they head towards Valvoline.
Fair play from both drivers. They have been willing to give each other space this whole time, and it's going to continue into Valvoline once more. Oh, a little bit of a better run that time for Phil Lake, but this is where he usually completely loses out on the spot, and this time it's still a tie. Up at the front, nose to nose. It's a drag race down into Dunlop. Right side corner here through the hairpin. A lot of banking around the outside. We could see Leskala try and take it back, and he's still not giving it up. Both of them wheel to wheel for nearly the entire lap at this point here on lap 13, and finally Leskala gets it, but here we come back at him.
Good exit for Yuko Leskala. Phil Lake on the outside as well with a decent exit off of the chicane. He's going to try and get the overlap done on Yuko. Can't quite do it. Kind of trying to do a better exit, but Yuko parks it on the apex. Fantastic driving from both of them.
What's it gonna take for Phil to finally get this position? I think he's gonna try it here again. No, he's not gonna get a shot, as just drifting over to the inside, Leskala makes sure that he does not have the desired line.
He went too deep. Leskala went too deep into the corner. Felix gonna have an opportunity into Coke if he wants it, or he's gonna just try it. He looks up the inside, compromises his line just a little bit, and here we go one more time. Yuko Leskala, though, a decent exit off of the corner. That should keep him, I don't know, it's close. Phil Lake could make a dive to the inside of the corner if he wants to.
He's closing. He's gonna think about it, but then he comes back to the racing line. Is it Phil maybe the one cracking already, instead making some desperate moves at this stage? Ooh, I think there may have been a little ghost contact between them there coming into the Mercedes arena. Things getting a bit intense here.
I can report that Andre Schumacher completely blew the chicane this last time by, lost 4th position to Nick Makanos, and Ove Tringray had already passed him for the 3rd position, so Andre Schumacher back to 5th.
Some incredible racing. I would say they were side by side through more corners than they were not that last lap, as Jungbluth is going to lose out to Hisada in that fight.
And that was another cut course penalty for Jungbluth, with chicane really causing problems for the GTPs today.
So Togo a little lucky, but he lost a lot of time to Schneider, who's up ahead of him. Schneider's been fighting with Sintez Guindo from time to time too for that podium position. They're not too far back from Beme, as if they manage not to lose too much time in this fight, he could quickly be on the charge to see if he can overtake the 5, especially in all this traffic that they're having to navigate.
Yeah, bad exit for Schneider, as Carlos Fonseca just took away the lane just a little bit there. And now he, dives up the inside of Saul. Schneider is not taking any prisoners today.
He wants those spots back. He knows that a potential championship is there for him, but he's got to make sure that he keeps getting good points. Now, Laust Olsen isn't here today, so he does have that to his advantage, but he still doesn't want to leave points on the table.
Absolutely, and Joe, I think we're going to have to go back to the GTOs again, because it's going to happen again between Yuko Leskala and Phil Lake, but Phil with the best opportunity. He's had this race closer than he's ever been. If he sends it deep into the corner, he might have this position on Yuko. They're side by side once again, but Phil with the inside, Yuko just carrying the speed around the outside. Phil Lake with a wide arc into Mercedes. He doesn't quite have it clear, gives the lane to Yuko, but now he's got him cleared. Phil Lake up to the lead, full car length ahead for the first time this race.
It took many a lap and some incredible battles, but he's got it now. Can he keep Leskala from trying to get back through? Will we see the slipstream be enough for the number 1 to attack back?
This is John Cope behind them. John Cope has enough damage that he's actually a little bit slower than these guys throughout most of the lap. If he gets in between this battle, that could definitely be a problem for Yuko Leskala or Phil Lake. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, he's been waiting extremely patiently. He doesn't want to get involved in this. It all depends on what his straight line speed is like, most likely, as they come out of the Dunlop curve. And somewhere on the other side of the track, Sintez Guindo is getting close to Till in that number 5 machine. Till just had 2 wheels off into the grass that time through, managed not to spin it.
Approaching Jamie Hamill-Smith, a lap GTO. It's going to should be able to get both of them by the time they hit the brakes for Dunlop. So as we go into that corner, Nicholas Schneider's going to dive in there as well and say, well, if they're going through, I'll go through too, Jamie. Thank you very much. And able to get through, but Guindo right on the back of Till. Schneider just has not been able to hang with them as they've been navigating this traffic, but it should be traffic free for the next 3 corners until they catch up to the back of Matthias Platz and Miguel Alcalde battling for 6th.
I'm kind of surprised that Schneider has not made more attacks here. Maybe the opportunities just haven't come as often, or maybe these are quicker drivers that are proving a harder nut to crack. He's a ways behind both of them here coming up into the final chicane, so certainly isn't going to happen here.
Well, just like the 2021 Mercedes-AMG F1 team, I think. Oh, a bobble from Till. Intro Sintez Guindo looking up the inside of Coke. He's going to think better of it. He's going to try and get it done on the draft, as they have Miguel Alcalde and Matthias Platz up ahead of them as well. But this might give an opportunity to Schneider, who's got a really good straight line speed. Let's see what happens.
And this is a battle for position here with Miguel defending on Plots. Oh, and he tries to defend. He's going to shove him over. That's going to send Sintes Guindo across, and Nick Schneider is able to try and squeeze through. He gets one position. He's still going to go by these feuding GTOs, and he is fully passed. That is a podium spot now for Nick.
I cannot believe nobody wrecked out there. That was some impressive driving from everybody to hang on to their cars as there's multiple side-by-side contacts into the first turn.
An apology from Miguel on that one. And Sintes Guindo probably sitting there wondering, what just happened? I got shoved off the track. Oh, and another case of a GTO offering a spot here as Till got held up and Schneider pounces. That is Schumacher, actually, that just, got tipped around, actually. No, he saves it. Great hold by Andre.
My goodness, everyone putting out their best driving shoes today as these guys still battling. Aitor Sintes Guindo and Till are going to split Ove Trangerade, and here we go up to Michelin, and Nick McConnell's just going to be cut off here. Aitor Sintes Guindo sees blood in the water.
So Schneider now up into second. He's 22 seconds behind Matthias Hofdahl. So that's about as far as we're expecting him to go. The battle continues for those remaining behind as we ride on board with Aitor into the final chicane. Just send it a little deep, and that compromises that exit.
Absolutely. The exits of the corners when you're tucked in these close battles, especially approaching a drafting straight, are so key for these drivers. You've really got to focus on getting that chicane. The entry of the first chicane can be a little slow, but your exit should be as quick as you possibly can get it in order to get as much speed up to this corner as possible. This corner a little bit less crucial to hit the brakes and get a good exit on because the Mercedes arena is so difficult for these GTPs to keep traction down. It's so hard because it's just waffling between mechanical and aerodynamic grip, and it was designed specifically for that purpose. So that's why it's such a challenge for these drivers.
So in this race, we've seen very few hard chargers, to be honest. Most of the drivers have kind of hovered around where they began. Sintes Guindo here has climbed up from 7th. He sits in 4th. That's not too bad, but that is eclipsed by Andre Schumacher, by the way, who started from 14th in his class and is currently in 5th.
And Andre was as far up as 3rd at one point in this race. So Andre Schumacher doing a great job in the GTO, just trying to hang on to these positions at this point late in the race. One of the easiest things you could do as a newer driver to the GTO is to wear out those tires quickly. And the margin for error between wearing out your tires and racing on the edge of the traction, that was really close. I believe that was Joseph Mudrack making that pass there on Schumacher. But the difference between being over the edge and right on the edge in the GTO is razor thin, and it can feel the same to you as a driver until you get used to it.
Leskala right now still behind Lake ahead of this battle. In fact, way up the road by half a minute. And it seems like our leaders in both classes today just have this track and this traffic sussed out way better than those around them. This is the battle for 3rd, though. Mukanos in the red machine with the white swirls belonging to Ove Trangerade.
Absolutely. Ove Trangerade and Nick McConnell. This battle's been going on for most of the race. They had Schumacher ahead of them at one point, but Schumacher making a mistake through the final chicane ended up giving the position away to Ove, who then got passed by Nick McConnell. So Nick trying to hold on to 3rd, and we often commentators curse Nick with traffic, so we'll try not to do that today. But they've got Patrick Silvazzi and Gianluca Gabbiani who are battling for 9th position in the GTPs, catching up close behind them. This is going to be interesting. They're going to have to split these two guys.
And for the second time in a couple minutes, Schumacher got shoved on the outside of a corner by one of the GTPs. Straight into the back. That was Silvazzi, unfortunately making firm contact with Mukanos, and something happened to Schneider.
Schneider just got passed by Beme and is being threatened by Aitor Sintes Guindo. Something's wrong with his car.
No, he got held up by traffic. He was trying to go by the leaders. He didn't want to interrupt their fight. He was a little too polite, and unfortunately, that allowed an opportunity for Till to try and jump him. He is now back up into second place, has to do the work all over again.
Absolutely, and this might actually give an opportunity to a couple of the drivers in these battles. I think Yuko Leskola might be one of them. Nicholas Schneider's under heavy pressure though for Lane Torsenteskindo. So watching this battle, keeping one eye on the leaders, the GTS leaders. The GTS not going to develop. Nicholas Schneider is actually going to look up the inside a little bit of Till. Can't quite do it, but that car's fast in a straight line.
Certainly looks
like
Yuko
with a late dive on Phil Lake almost took him out going into the first corner.
Holy cow, they managed not to make contact, but some of that traffic is playing both ways here. It's not just for those GTP drivers, but it seems the GTOs trying to use it to every advantage they can. We're under 5 minutes left, so the urgency is on for Yuko to try and make an overtake.
Absolutely, such fantastic racing between all of these drivers right now. Yuko Leskola definitely putting the pressure on Phil Lake. Phil making a couple of mistakes here. This will be the second race in a row that he's tried to hold off. Yuko Leskola. And somehow in all of this, Andre Schumacher got ahead of Ove Trangarade for 4th position and is now on the back of Nick Picanos.
Wow, things are all over the place here in our top 5 in each of the classes as we switch over to that fight. But a note on that battle between Leskola and Lake, when you take into account drop weeks, the 3-point difference from first to second would mean that Lake would take the championship lead.
Very interesting here. Hovdal with another fastest lap, definitely putting the space on Schneider, who's still stuck behind Beme for that second position in the GTPs, as well as we watch Ove Trangarade, Andre Schumacher, and Nick Picanos currently in 3rd position, battling for that 3rd spot.
To the Schumacher S. Mucanos maybe a little off the apex, but he's smoother than Schumacher. Here comes Trangarade with a great run, but it's a short blast here to Michelin. He doesn't try and attack into there. Could we see something maybe into the Vidal chicane? He's trying to cut back wider, get a better exit, and it's a very good one.
Yeah, Schneider with a great exit, but unfortunately we're entering the part of the track where he does not have the advantage. The Mercedes Arena and the twistier sections of this course. So Schneider definitely having to make a move. He's going to have to hope that he is able to get the pickoff on Till at a better position.
As we check up now with our GTP leaders, instead Beme is just ahead of Schneider by 0.4 of a second. I haven't really seen much in the way of attacks from him. This might be one. No, just thinks about it. And backs out by the time they break for the Dunlop hairpin. It's going to be single file through the Schumacher S, so certainly isn't going to happen here.
Yeah, definitely close racing between these guys for sure. And oh my goodness, Andre Schumacher just made a late dive on Nick Picanos for 3rd place in the GTOs. They're side by side as they exit the Mercedes Arena. Nick gets pinched a little bit. This will give an opportunity to Ove Trangarade. If he can keep it on track, he can. Here we go into Valvoline with those two side by side. Nick breaks a little bit earlier. Ove late. No contact between the two of them. Here we go into Ford.
Still on his outside. Mucanos tries to defend, but Trangarade is on it. And here we go, 3 wide as Rage goes past. He's going to be able to keep from interrupting that fight. And it appears it'll go to Mucanos, who takes that 4th spot in the end.
And Nicholas Schneider's making a pass on Till Beme right now into the first turn. He makes that dive late. I did it exactly where I thought he would. And a corner where he's got the most pace advantage.
With about, I believe, 2 to go, as Hovdal's way up the road for them. So even though they have less than a lap's worth of time left, they're going to have to go essentially 1 extra here. Schneider just ahead of Till. He can't relax on these last 2 laps. He has got to keep on it so that he doesn't open the door for the number 5 rookie.
Absolutely, he's got to be as quick as he can. He needs to set his fastest 2 laps of the race this time by. He needs to be very careful with the traffic.
Lake and Leskola are going to get a whole nother lap around as well themselves, as they're not going to be caught by Hovdal in time, who's just getting ready to approach the white flag now. Matthias up by an impressive 25 seconds over anybody around. But look at how much pressure we're seeing Till put on Nicholas here.
Till's putting as much pressure as he possibly can, pushing that car to its absolute limit to try and get that position back. He wants that second position from Nicholas. He's had it most of the race. So close between these drivers.
Very close as well between Lake and Lesko. It's only a quarter between them.
And it's almost, oh my goodness, Andre Schumacher's making some big blocks actually between on Nick Makados right now to try and hang on to this third position.
Oh, when did he get that third, actually? I thought he was behind last we looked.
He got it when the traffic all came through, Joe.
That's right. Yeah, so sorry, I was thinking of Mukanos and Trangarade, who were fighting, not Schumacher. Schumacher goes wide and he gets hit again in the same corner. Gets it back straight. Oh, Mukanos gets turned around and more craziness behind them, as that was Alcade, who unfortunately got into Guy Otero.
Phil Lake under heavy pressure right now. He blocks it up going through Coca-Cola. Yuko Leskola not with the great exit, unfortunately. Phil's going to be able to hang on to this one as they start their final lap.
Sad to see so many of our top drivers not get a good finish because of that incident there at the end. Last lap now for our leaders in the GTOs, and there is nothing to separate them as they come through the Mercedes arena. But we have to go to Matty Hovdal. His third race of this season. He managed a second the first time back in Silverstone. Didn't get to score last round, but this time through, he's going to take max points with a win for the number 3 car in emphatic fashion. Matthias takes the victory.
Fantastic victory for him for sure. And Nicholas Schneider has pulled away from Till Beme a little bit there. And so it's going to be Schneider in second, Till Beme in third, and Aitor Sentes Guindo. If he can get a good exit here, he might be able to pass Till, but Till holds it down. Till Beme in third, Aitor Sentes Guindo fourth position.
Nick able to recover to a second as Phil Lake and Yuko Leskola still have half a lap to go. By the way, Trangarade finished behind the leaders, I believe, already, and has third. He inherited that after all the craziness we just witnessed. So as Lake has got himself a little bit better of a gap than what he had at the start of the lap. This is looking good, but he can't make any errors. He's got to watch out for that gearbox in that Audi, which is known for being finicky. A missed shift would hand this one over. Nothing doing for Yuko Leskola. So for the third race in a row, Phil Lake is going to beat the multi-time champion to the line to take the win in the GTOs.
And if they do factor in, when they do factor in those drop points, it will also be the championship lead, Joe.
Interesting stuff here for Phil Lake, but that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. The Grand Prix course just hosted round 8 in the iRacing Kamel GT series, and we saw Matthias Hovdal take his first victory of the season over Nick Schneider, who was trying to keep him honest today, but it was not meant to be for that number 4 machine, as a mistake sent him down the field and he could only climb to second. Tilbeme, new to the series as far as we can tell, managed to get third place as he fought hard with Sintez Guindo, who finished P4. Jungbluth had 5th as Toga Hisada just couldn't seem to keep up the race pace. He was P6. Suarez was 7th as Mudrack got 8th. You've got Zovazi in 9th and Nick Rage in the 10th position. Gabbiani, P11, last one on the lead lap, followed by Guiotero, John Cope, and Jonathan Rickard.
Phil Lake takes the win over Yuka Lesko after a hard-fought battle between those two for the third week in a row for these two guys. Then we have Miguel Alcalde, who actually finishes third, and Matthias Potts fourth after Ove Trankrate, I believe, went over the incident limit and got a penalty that he was unable to serve, coming home in the 5th position. Andre Schumacher comes home in 6th after getting spun by Nick Bakanos off of the Dunlop curve. Not too happy about that particular position for himself today. Jamie Hamill-Smith in 7th position. Nick Bakanos falls back to 8th after getting spun off the nose of Andre Schumacher, as those two were side by side and ramming doors. Hideki Koivisto finishes in the 9th spot with Marty Ole in 10th position. Carlos Fonseca finishes in 11th with Fabio Sol and Mika Tupola in 12th and 13th, and then Nishan Cameron finishes in the 14th position.
That's going to take us to our winner in the prototypes. It's his first win of the season, Matthias. Matthias, congratulations on that one. It seems that even though you briefly lost that lead, luck was on your side today.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a redemption for last week when I had good pace and then I binned it in the first corner. And yeah, I nearly threw it away this time as well with the slowdown I got on at the end of lap 2, I think it was. Because I knew Nicholas had a much lower downforce setup than me, so even though I had more pace, it was just impossible to actually pass him on the straights. You know, even when I was tucked in right behind his rear wing, I just could not close in on him. So, but then of course he made that mistake, which is actually pretty much the same thing I did in the Friday race on the last lap when I threw it away. So, so yeah, I would have liked to see a proper battle, of course. It's a bit anticlimactic when it happens through a mistake, but you know, I'll take it.
And then you had such a comfy margin after that. It seemed like it was kind of procedural for you. Even still, now that you've knocked out the victory, I mean, what's the goal for the rest of the season? You showed up a little bit late, so obviously a championship not on the cards. Is it just gonna keep stealing wins from those fighting for the championship?
Yeah, I'll just pick out a few races that I like, and yeah, just you know, try to go for individual wins.
Well, speaking of which, one of my favorites up next at Barber. Will that be one you'll be attending?
Yeah, so that is a track I really like, but unfortunately I'm not home next weekend, so I won't be attending that one. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer because it's not one of the highest rated tracks in the series, so it doesn't come onto the schedule that often. So I missed it last time as well, so I'm a bit yeah, bummed about that. But you know, it is what it is.
I feel you there. I would be disappointed too. But that was our winner here today, Matthias Hovdal. And I believe up next, it seems Adam has caught up with Phil Lake, who is on 3 on the trot now.
Yeah, Phil, I mean, these battles with Yuka Leskola over the last 3 races have been absolutely amazing. You two have been side by side more often than you have not. Talk to me about today's race.
Yeah, that was kind of the reverse of Charlotte, because Charlotte I was leading and defending the whole race, and then this time I was chasing most of the race. So, like you said, these battles every week have just been crazy. Really, really good fun, really clean. You know, and I don't know. It's super fun at the moment, and we're so close on pace. I hope it just carries on the way it is for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. We would love that too, to be honest with you. I mean, how do you go side by side with another driver across most of the lap and not make contact while still being competitive on pace?
It's a lot about who the other driver is, in my opinion. I do a series on Sundays in the Legends cars with a few of the Kamel guys, and we all race super close. And you know, you give people enough space, but only just enough space. And then when you get used to that, and you know you can trust the guy next, I know I can trust Yuko. If I give him a car's width, he can put his car in that car's width. He doesn't need any more space. So if you trust the guy, you can battle hard and not lose that much time.
Absolutely. And heading into next week, we head to Barber. That's a very a course that we don't get to visit that often in the Kamel series. What are your thoughts heading into that one?
Yeah, I quite like the track. It's quite difficult with the multi-class, especially that last sector where the Nissans are probably close to flat through some of that, and we're struggling. So I seem to remember last time we went there was a little bit messy with the multi-class. So hopefully everybody jumps in the midweek races and gets a good bit of practice in traffic, and it should be okay.
Absolutely. Well, Phil, is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go today?
Just you guys, as always, and the Dirty Talk guys.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Phil, and congratulations on your win today.
Thank you.
That was Phil Lake, our winner in the GTOs. Back to you, Joe.
That's going to wrap us up for this afternoon. So a big thank you to the Kamel GT Series community for bringing us in for another season of coverage. But also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast that we've listed on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store, simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because as we said, next week we're off to Barber, Saturday, August 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, because in about an hour and some time, the Formula V Weekend Warriors go to Summit Point. That'll be 4 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.